Today we're going to do a brake job on this 2014 Lexus GS350. So all I'm doing is loosening the lug nuts before I jack it up completely. Then I put down cardboard so I can isolate the mess. So next, I'm going to remove these two bolts. So this one here, and then there's one right below it. They're both 14 millimeter. Whoa. So the top one's coming out easy. Oh, looks like I can get everything from this angle here. You have a couple of retainers, you have your pads. So we're gonna work through that. Okay, so if I can get up in here close, you can see that there's some hardware here and the pad slides into that hardware. So what I'm gonna attempt to do is pull it straight out. One-handed, this could be interesting. All right, so there's one, and I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna put it right here. And I'm going to use this to drive this piston back because you're going to need the clearance for the new pads. All right, so I got the front one out. And then for the back one, it's the same thing. It just slides out. And I just ripped my glove, of course. All right, so one-handed, it's a little bit of a chore. So one thing I will say is that this piece has a separate shim. So I'm going to remove the shim. So the shim is just sitting on there like so. And it looks like there's actually two shims. Yeah, so it looks like there's two shims. So the question is whether I use them both or not. The plan is to use them. What I need to do is clean these. Clean them, I'm going to use some brake clean. And my goal is simply to remove all the dirt off of the surface of these. So I'll take these, I'll go ahead and clean these up. So if they're a little stubborn to clean, you can use a wire brush. So put a little bit of cleaner on there and then use the wire brush to kind of clean it off. Something like this. So the goal is I want everything as clean as possible before I go for the install. Or before I reinstall. I also take a look at the rotors. If the rotors look bad, then I replace those as well. These look okay, not overly grooved. Should be all right. So I'm just gonna do pads on the rears. But got that pretty clean. Little TLC. The next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this, it's one of the pads, then I'm going to put this right here. Then I have a C-clamp. And what I'm going to do is attempt to drive this pad back. So I'm just going to slowly turn the C-clamp on the pad. That way I'm distributing the weight evenly, or as evenly as possible, because you want the piston to go as straight as possible back into its bore. So I'm going to go ahead and clean off this surface here using the same brake cleaner. It's going to be pretty dirty. Then I'm going to take this piece here. So as far as the shims go, here's what I did. You have the black shim. That goes with the tabs sticking up like so. The second shim goes over that shim like so. So you're going to see the tabs sticking up in those areas there. Before I do that, I'm going to add grease in between all the points. So I'll put grease here, grease on the back side, or grease in between the two shims, if I can get them to open. Grease in between there. And then I'll also have grease on the outside here. So all the spots have grease on them. All right, so let's get it opened up. I'm going to go ahead and put some on here. So this helps with squeaking and things like that. So I'll put some on here, then I'll put on our black shim with the tab side up. Okay, then I'm gonna put some in between here. So everywhere where there's an interface is where I'm going to put grease. You do not want to put grease on the brake pads themselves or on the brake rotor. So I got the grease on there. Okay, and I'll push them together. Then the last spot, so this is where it's going to be touching the piston. That is going to be hitting here. So we're going to put some on here. And I'm going to wipe it around. And then you also have right here in these slots. So I'm going to put some right on the ears. Here and here, here and here. Then I can go ahead and install this on the back side. And so all I'm doing is the same thing as I'll be doing on the front side that you can see. It just slides into the clips. So here's my second one. Let me clean off the shim. I'll let you brush my airbrush. Now wipe down. So if the shim was damaged, I would be using new shims, but they're not damaged. You can see where there's wear. So in these areas here, there's wear, but as far as actual damage, there isn't any. Then I'll put grease on the back side of this one as well, because this is what's going to be interfacing with the pad itself. I'll just put a little dab on there, smear it around. And then making sure I don't get grease on the pad, then I will install this. Okay. Then I'm going to put a little bit on the ears for good measure, because it is a contact point. Then all I'm going to do is put some on the back here. In this case, it's pretty easy to see where the contact points are, so I'm just making sure I have grease on all the areas that are contacting. Okay, other than the face of the pad. Then all I'm going to do is slide it into place, and that's it. I've got some residue inside the bore here, so I'm going to I'm just going to wipe this out, get as clean as possible, wipe off the face. So I'm going to slide this back into place, like so. That little nut on the end, forgot, is where I screw this into. Then all I need to do now is tighten this up using my 14mm socket. Now I just need to tighten it. I guess I need a wrench on the other side. All right, let's see if this fits. If you don't have a 14, you can use a 9/16. So either 14mm or 9/16. It happens to be one size that you can interchange. Okay. So what I like to do is I will get them started, and the way I'll do that is I'll put it inside of my socket and get them started like so. Just kind of finger. All I have to do is raise it up a pinch because this needs to go into the wheel. There's a hole in the wheel. This needs to match up with it. So by moving the wheel up and down or left to right, I can get it to where it's seating that in place. Then all I'm going to do is tighten. I'll get two of them started. Once you get two started, the rest will fall right into place. Get these all finger tight, and then I'll lower the car, tighten them up, and then I'll do the other side. And that's it for the back brakes. Pretty simple. If you have any questions, let me know. All those are quasi tight. Pull out my jack stand, lower the jack. Now I can lower it. Now I'm going to tighten them. And one thing you don't want to do is overly tighten these things. They don't have to be super tight. Torque spec, I can't remember what it is, but it's not with a 2 or 3 foot bar, putting all your body weight on it. So once it's seated, all I'll do is I'll give it a little bit of a push. That's it. I don't keep going on it. If you start to over tighten it, you can stretch the lugs and various other things. So we don't want to do that. Now just kind of go back around, make sure they're all tight. If you hear a squeaking noise when you tighten them, they're too tight. There should not be a squeaking noise. Okay, that's it. Time to move on to the other side.